to give them the benefit of the doubt, with all these shuffling around in the Web3 world that's gone on over the last 6 months. So he's got contacts inside of Bluesky, and he was saying that their decentralized account system is on a DID system in exactly the same way that the ceramic accounts, the ceramic off-chain accounts for Hive are on DID systems. So everyone will have a DID number. We're not sure if they're using ceramic, but it's a very similar compatible system. Now, I have to give them some credit for doing the DIDs. I didn't think that they would do that because you can't shut the DIDs down, the DID accounts or decentralized identification accounts. They, as a front end, Bluesky will probably be able to stop accounts down.
We got quite a lot of details on Bluesky this week because everybody seems to be joining it, and there seems to be a lot of buzz over, can I get a referral code? They're doing it very much the way you remember how Clubhouse launched, and you couldn't get in unless you were personally invited, and it generated an enormous amount of buzz, and everyone was all very excited about it. And now it sunk without a trace. Apparently, there is stuff that still goes on over there, but I took it off my phone years ago. Anyway, they're doing that with Bluesky, and this thing occurred was that someone wrote a thread having actually looked at their terms and conditions, and they're absolutely bog standard centralized Web 2 terms and conditions. Reserve the right, we own all the rights to everything you post, we might screenshot it, you're not allowed to use screenshots, we can. There were a couple of interesting, but then the CEO responded, which is the link I shared. Hi, I'm the CEO of Bluesky. I asked for a standard social media TOS from our lawyers in preparation for our beta. It was not my intent for the legalese to end up so confusing and unfriendly. We've already been working on the second pass. Well, it's not confusing and it's not unfriendly. It's just exactly what you expect. But if you dig just a little bit under the surface, you'll find there's a bit in his thread where he mentions screenshots, which is weird. It's like you're not supposed to screenshot the site. And what you do understand is that they do seem to have built a skin on a back end. And it mentions that there are other skins, but they don't want you copying their skin.
There's a couple of interesting things from my point of view here. I had a couple of chats this week on this, and it's interesting. So the first one is, I responded to that tweet as well, and I was like, first of all, if it's really Web3, there shouldn't be a CEO. So I don't know what you're mentioning the CEO.
Yeah, rule one.
The first red flag. However, to give them the benefit of the doubt, with all these shuffling around in the Web3 world that's gone on over the last 6 months, I think a few of the venture capitalists pulled their money from different projects, and a few developers got fired from different Web 2.5 projects. A lot of them have moved to other Web 2.5 projects like Bluesky. So he's got contacts inside of Bluesky, and he was saying that their decentralized account system is on a DID system in exactly the same way that the ceramic accounts, the ceramic off-chain accounts for Hive are on DID systems. So everyone will have a DID number. We're not sure if they're using ceramic, but it's a very similar compatible system, which means that the hope is that we can keep in touch with the contacts as inside of Bluesky, maybe figure out a way to work with them so that people that have got DIDs from the ceramic network on Hive and the off-chain system will be able to post directly to Bluesky and other skins from Bluesky using those accounts. It seems that there's potential here for interoperability.
Here's this point that I think everybody misses. And I saw it with the Nostra crowd as well, because as soon as you want to get an app, a real app, into one of the app stores, you have to tell the app store that you have the ability to ban people. Okay? You must do that. You will not get approved into Google Play or Apple App Store if you say that your app cannot ban people. So, there's no way. That's what you have to do if you've got a brand new app. Maybe if you've been there a long, long time, it's different, but I doubt it. So, Steam, any of the apps that are real apps they have to say that they can ban people. So that's what his terms and services. Now, but it's just a skin. It's one skin banning you if they've done it right. But I don't think that they've done the back end to the degree that we have. So, we wait to see. But nobody can get their head around the idea of a non-CEO-led company. It doesn't exist. It really underlines the uniqueness of what we're doing on Hive.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. I have to give them some credit for doing the DIDs. I didn't think that they would do that because you can't shut the DIDs down, the DID accounts or decentralized identification accounts. They, as a front end, Bluesky will probably be able to stop accounts down in the same way that any of the other Hive front ends can stop accounts from posting to them. But what they can't do is remove the DID access. However,
slightly
DIDs will be
on Hive. You can't stop an account posting. You can just not show the transactions of that account. You can filter out the transactions of any given account if you're a front end, but you can't stop them writing to the chain. Whereas it's not clear what the back end is and who's running and who's hosting this back end. Is it a blockchain?
Yeah, no. Like I'm explaining. This is like insider news. Like this is legit, like insider shit that we've got contact this week with these guys. There are several people that we know that work inside of Bluesky because they've been hired recently, and they're like the old Web 2.5 or Web 3 guys that have moved from various different VC projects.
Okay.
And they are in Bluesky at the moment working on this, and they are building a DID system that is almost identical to the ceramic account system that we're rolling out on Hive. So that they will have effectively a federated off-chain account system, which is cool. I mean, it's cool. The potential for interoperability here is insane. And because we've got contacts there, then there is potential for having this kind of cross-posting going on. We'll see what happens. But definitely there's going to be compatibility there because they're the same base systems. The DID system is effectively the same. There's even a good chance that they're using ceramic, but we're not sure. But they're definitely using a DID system, which is effectively like a Hive account, but it's
DID just means decentralized identifier.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what it means, and it's kind of the equivalent for identity of like a hash that just points somewhere, as far as I can tell. So, our Hive accounts are that with but much better because they come with some storage.
But the cool thing there is, though, there's an opportunity, because the way we're looking at the DID system when we roll it out on ceramic is that other apps will integrate this, and then people will be able to log in fairly easily. People will be able to log in with their MetaMask and not even have a key. Yeah. People will be able to log in with their with an Authy number,
or a Nostra pub key pair.
Right. This is where it goes, and then the next step is like, okay, now you're used to posting to Web3, you're getting the point of it, but there's another phase here. If we build proxies on top of this so that you can mine crypto to your off-chain account via a Hive proxy account, then at a certain point you'll have enough Hive to click an upgrade button to get a full Hive account. And we think that's really good because the culture shock of going from zero to a Hive account is quite strong. But if you go from an off-chain ceramic type DID system from zero to one of those and then eventually to a Hive account when you're ready, it's going to be a much less of a culture shock and a much smoother transition, we think. So the potential for this to be the same system the potential for us to hook in Hive accounts on top of the DID system inside of Bluesky is quite strong here. I mean, it's all speculation at the moment, but there's definitely potential for this. It's the same code base.
Anyway, that's what caught my eye this week. I'm keen to see what they're doing. And I love looking at all these. The way I look at this, the way I look at Lightning and Nostra and all of this stuff is, what are they making? Is any of it open source? And can we take advantage of the vast VC money that they're deploying? And if the answers to any of those questions are yes, it's exciting and interesting.
Yeah. And I think, if you look at like what Nostra's doing, it's a very similar principle they've taken. So it's like it's non-incentivized infrastructure as far as I can tell. Certainly not decentralized.
Ad hoc.
It's incentivized. Ad hoc, I like that, yeah. Dan calls it bring your own node.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, in the same way as Nostra's doing with the Web3 or Web 2.5 posting systems that are happening there, at a certain point it becomes very clear the advantage of a Hive system, which is true Web3.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice staging ground, effectively.
Yeah, they're basically building what we would call an off-chain system for scaling, but that's just for scaling. The problem with the bring your own node approach is Bluesky is going to bring all the nodes. They're going to have the best front end. It really sounds like they're anti-competition, so I don't know if they're going to show other skins content on their front end, because then that might take competition away from their front end. It sounds like with their terms of service, they're going to be really aggressive and don't want people to copy their front end and all that. So
don't share. And I'll just say one more thing, because I'm going to jump off soon. But like, for accounts with Bluesky can delete your account for any reason, but may refuse to delete it if you ask. For any accounts that are used legally, we will perform hard deletes of the account and data across the network. So they have ultimate control of your data if you establish your account through their front end. The only reason they might not delete your account if you ask for it to be deleted is if you're doing illegal activity and have to turn the account over to the authorities. So, but it's another centralized. It sounds to me very much like the federated model of Mastodon, in that they're going to run the infrastructure if you sign up via Bluesky, even though the account might technically be open and the backend might technically be somewhat open like Mastodon. Your stuff is on their servers for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, no matter which way you slice it, if you don't have incentives, you can have different varieties of account system and how you chop up the data, but there's no incentive. It ends up the exact same way every time in practice, which means you have one big data provider with one big ass front end that has accompanied enough awareness that that's the go-to app, isolating itself from other apps because their competition on Hive, other apps, Splinterlands isn't competition to another game. Hive blog isn't competition to another front end. So we're all sharing the same ecosystem. As Hive grows, the more users, the more secure the network becomes. They don't have that incentive backbone to tie and glue an ecosystem together. So you have a PvP game versus the community. There is no community. It's company versus company at that point. Community versus community. Whoever has the most resources wins. And what you're ultimately going to see is Bluesky dominate it. Same thing happened on Nostra. The same thing that happened on all the federated sites. You can look at it in practice over and over again. It always leads to the same thing. You have to have incentives that are distributed and uncontrollable. They have to be censorship-resistant micropayments. Without that setup, there's no surprise. It's going to end up the same way every single time. And you can quote decentralization because it's just like, it's a stupid Twitter meme. Why don't you go build your own Twitter? It's sort of the same thing. So why don't you go build your own Bluesky? It's like, no one's going to do that. They don't have the incentive to. And how do you monetize? You get wrecked if you try to monetize in that world, because then you have to go through the Web 2 ad system, the Google, all of this shit to get your monetization. And if you don't do it that way, if you're not going crypto, then that's the only way to do it. And you're in the palm of their hands anyway. So the game just simply doesn't work without incentives. It's funny that all the billionaires are anti-incentive. They're all superhero mentality. Oh, I'll pay for it. It's the same theory every time. If you look behind these systems, who's the one that's operating it? It's usually some billionaire.
I think it's
anti-crypto, anti-incentive.
It's the convenience of I could just be a Bitcoin maxi, and then conveniently it just turns out that they kind of see a vision of, this just ends up with the same data mining model that was there before. We can dominate the nodes to structure. So it's just convenience and Bitcoin maximalism kind of combined, and I think in many ways it's cool because it means that Hive's going to hit them out of nowhere, in my opinion. I mean, how are they going to incentivize storage nodes and critical infrastructure operation with that type of mindset? They can't do it.
You look at them as all layer 2s to Hive. Everything they're building, we can just incentivize and plug right into it. There's no competition here. All this cool shit that all these VCs are building and pouring all this money into, including the Lightning Network, all these things can just be plugged into Hive. Not competition at all. And yeah, that's how these things will survive. They'll be backed by a community that can actually incentivize it. And they'll be like, look, this is how you do it. Look, we actually have censorship-resistant Lightning Network nodes because they're distributed like a whack-a-mole system, because you just slap DPoS, slap incentives, and you can fix pretty much any network as long as the vote is distributed. If it's on the layer 2, then you can rely on Hive. So that's less of a concern. But
I think the important thing is as well is at the moment a lot of this is just talking, and it's kind of abstract, right? But it's very clear that this is where this is going, right? We will have Bitcoin on Hive, and it will be wrapped in a decentralized wrapping mechanism. The plans are already out there for that. There's already people talking about working on that. We certainly will be looking to fund some of that. That's going to happen. So you've got to assume that's happened. Then you compare that system to the Lightning Network, and it's just like you've got to run a Hive account instead of a Bitcoin node, which is way, it's the world of difference is incomparable. But then once it's actually running, and we turn around and the argument is, well, look, our nodes are all voted in, no pre-mine, no OCO, and they're incentivized, and it's faster, and it's free. It's like at that point, there's no argument left because you're showing them, and that is coming. That's for sure is coming. Not just on the Lightning Network side of things, but on all sorts of different things.